Hey, what's happening, everybody? Get that sipping. Mike's in hot Teja today, so it's although technically it's probably almost as hot here in Michigan as it is in Texas, where Mike is at. How's it going, Mike?
Crazy. It's going good, man. It's going good. So yeah, I am literally eye shot across the border down in McAllen, Texas. Fly into San Antonio and drive 4 hours through nothing to get to McAllen.
Man, nothing.
Did pass a lot of abandoned towns, and I've shot those already. So
oh, really?
Yeah. So I didn't stop too much this time. Maybe on the way back I'll find something.
Yeah,
I'm hoping. But yeah, it's hot. 94 right now, and it was been up to like 98 during the day.
Okay, so it's not that hot here in Michigan, but
it's not. But it's a whole lot hotter than it normally is.
Yeah, it's a little warm, little atypical here. But you know, it's Michigan, so who knows? It does what it wants.
Exactly.
So we're on episode 69, and the title I gave this episode is rather long because it talks about firmware and cameras and giveaways and Drobos and just all this other stuff. So I guess we got a little bit to talk about tonight.
Right.
Let's just start off with, we're going to go kind of in sort of a chronological order of things that have happened since the last episode. And since the last episode, there was a firmware update that rolled out for some of the Olympus cameras. EM1 Mark II, the PIN-F, and the EM5 Mark II. 3 cameras that got like pretty sizable updates, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the cool things that those updates give users of those cameras is the ability to take your camera settings, and this is something we've been waiting for a while, like across the system, and it's gradually trickling out there to multiple cameras now. But you can take all your camera settings, you know, for the most part, and back them up off your camera onto your computer in a file. And then when you do like a firmware update, or if something's going on and you just need to reset, or if you give the camera to a buddy or whatever, and
you want to reset it then.
Yep. And you want to reset it back to, you know, your default settings that you like. You can load those settings back on the camera. It's kind of a nice touch there. Or, you know, something that we talked about, I think at the summit, or probably before the summit, you know, share those settings. You know, if somebody's hanging out, you know, and they're like, man, you know, I was using your camera, Jamie, and I like the fact that, you know, when you switch over to custom 1 for birding, you know, it switches over to these bright red crosshairs, and your continuous autofocus tracking turns on, and auto ISO and all these other settings specifically for birding kick on, and they want those settings. You know, I can give them those settings and all the settings that I use, but it's a quick way to kind of share your setup.
Yeah, definitely it is. And you know, I've heard, and I think it was Alex that said something, and I don't notice it yet, but I got to work with it a little more, that the EM5 Mark II, that it might seem quicker
with the autofocus. Yeah, I know
the autofocus.
Yeah, he was saying that in a conversation. I haven't done, in all honesty,
so
I haven't done a firmware update yet. So
and that's part of our problem. I think both of our problems is we need a real EM1 Mark II,
right?
Not a sample.
Yeah. The cameras that Mike and I have been using, we got for the launch of the camera, and they were well, technically they consider them a pre-production camera, but they were literally just like weeks before the production models came out. But because of that, Mike and I can't update those original cameras because it will actually brick the camera.
Right.
So, but Olympus did send us new EM1 Mark IIs, and mine's still sitting in the box. I haven't even opened it. I haven't had time.
I know mine is.
Yeah, you haven't even been in the state.
Yeah, right. I haven't been there yet.
But so that's one of the things that this firmware update offers. You know, of course, with any firmware update, you know, there's fixes for issues that people have encountered. You know, I think one of them was a wandering focus point, you know, for your home focus point. I think some people would run into that as an issue. I haven't with my camera, but it was apparently something that they looked at or whatever and decided to roll that into the firmware update. But I think one of the biggest things in the firmware update, aside from the ability to back up your settings, is the support for Pro Photo, off studio lighting of strobes. So up until now, there really hasn't been a solid solution for people who wanted like good off-camera lighting to be able to control the flashes, you know, from, you know, from a remote location. You know, you had the option of using the Olympus, you know, line of sight wireless flash triggering, you know, which basically is just going to trigger an Olympus hot shoe.
Another Olympus flash.
Yeah. But if you need something big, you know, like Tracy McGlasky is one of the people that's I know has been using the Pro Photo strobes. like 500 watt second. They have one that's like huge monster strobe. I mean, you can basically shoot, you know, at f1.2 in the middle of the afternoon with this light, and you know, be able to high speed sync and all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
not stuff I do.
Some serious professionals that are doing portrait work for sure, and I think that amongst many of the ones I know that have emailed or messaged me, they're the most excited is of that.
right. You know, and I think that now that Profoto has jumped on board and is doing support for the Micro Four Thirds cameras, specifically Olympus cameras right now, I think it kind of opens the floodgates for other manufacturers to jump in and start offering that support as well. So it's pretty exciting to see that come out. Yeah, I think they see, hey, if Profoto is going to jump on board, they've got a serious camera. Exactly. Olympus is not fooling around anymore. No. I see Bob Panic. Bob Panic made a good suggestion too. If you do have two of the same camera, and you want to keep the same settings on both, it's a good way to do that with the copy the settings. Right. You don't have to go back and do the other one. So that's a good idea. Especially, I know he has a couple cameras, and there's a few people that do. Yeah, Bob is good for all these crazy technical solutions for things. So, I mean, that's basically just scratching the surface of some of what the firmware offered. I don't want to delve into it because I'm not in the mood for getting all technical on stuff, to be honest with you. I kind of want to talk about giving away some stuff because I'll tell you what. So Mike and I, for the last several episodes, have been trying to give you gear, give you free stuff. It's free. And every time we've drawn names, the people whose names we've drawn, I'm sure they're wonderful people. Apparently, they're not listening to the show. They're just contributing to our numbers, I guess. But nobody has emailed in to claim any of these giveaways. So with that said, let's give away some stuff again now. Again, if you're a friend of Mike or I on any of the social media channels that we're on, if you're one of the winners, message us on there, or you can email me personally at info@jmacdonaldphoto.com. Okay? Now, let's give some stuff away. And this is funny. I'm really going to look forward to giving away this first one because the first person to win something tonight is Bob Panic. And Bob just happens to be watching live right now. So congrats, Bob. And I'm laughing because, well, Bob won the beanie, and Bob made mention when we were trying to draw the first name for the beanie, Bob said just in time for warm weather. So just in time for the hottest day we've had so far this year, Bob wins a winter hat. So congratulations, Bob. I think Bob knows how to get a hold of both of us pretty well. So congrats, Bob. He says he has the beanie. Well, you know what, Bob? You have two. Okay. You have one for each camera. Yes. You can back up your settings from one beanie to the other, okay? That's right. Which basically means you pull one off and put the other one on your head. So the winner of the coffee mug, and this is funny because I feel almost guilty because I've met most of these people. So the winner of the coffee mug is Steve Van Sack. Now, I met Steve out of Chicago last year, I think. And hopefully I get to run into him again this year. And maybe he'll be drinking coffee from this coffee mug that he just won if he reaches out and claims this prize. So, Steve, reach out. And, well, we've got another Steve. And this is a Steve that I know as well. Incredibly cool guy. And he's the winner of that long sleeve, like, I don't know what you want to call it. It's like a dry fit shirt or something like that. Yeah. Steven Sunick of the greater Bethlehem, Center Valley, Pennsylvania area. Awesome guy. And he won a nice long sleeve shirt. And the last winner, and last is not a bad thing. So the winner of and I've got it right here. Reach over. That's my socks. That's gross. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I'm going barefoot, so it's hot in here. So, anyways, so the last thing is this this little backpack deal. And it's actually, I like this bag a lot. And I used that last week like crazy. Really? Oh, because you were on vacation. Birding. Oh, on vacation. Well, no, yeah, that was before when I was on vacation in Arizona. Used it like crazy. So it is a nice bag. Good deal. And the winner of that nice bag is Caitlin Eischer. And Caitlin is actually really local to me. So I think we're fairly local. But anyway, so Caitlin Eischer, You won the bag, Steven Sunick. You won the shirt. The coffee mug is Steve Van Sack. And, of course, everyone's favorite, Bobbert, wins the beanie. So congratulations to all you guys. Everybody reach out to us so we can get you some codes to collect your gear. So that's the giveaway. And let's go on to the next subject, which is, it's a tough subject.
Yeah. Okay. I'm crossing them off my list.
Pun intended. So, and the reason I say pun is because, of course, we're talking about the Olympus Tough TG5. And I think I posted somewhere on social media, whether it's Facebook or it might have been our Facebook page, that we don't talk about the Tough cameras a lot for some reason. I'm not sure why we don't. We just don't seem to mention them a whole lot, but we probably should talk more about them because technically they are mirrorless. And I know you and I both usually have one in a bag. It's always like a backup camera.
Yeah, definitely. I want a bag, and that's my official slow roll camera when I'm doing my weekly slow rolls in Detroit with all those bikers.
Oh yeah,
that's the best camera to have. It's light, and it's a one-hand operator. You know.
Yeah.
You don't need to worry too much about adjusting things quickly.
Now I know, most of our audience is probably, we're going to say they're just mirrorless shooters, I hope, because they're here, or some of those considering mirrorless, so the OMDs and the pen cameras. And because we don't talk about the point and shoot cameras a whole lot, maybe they're not too familiar with the Tough cameras. And we could just talk a little bit about, what the Tough line is. Do you want to talk a little bit about?
Well, yeah, I think one of the things that just makes it so, tough, we'll use the word tough, is just how it's made, what it's made to withstand. The dropping distance, 7 feet, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? Dropping from a 7 foot drop onto a cement or whatever. But you've dropped one a little further, I think, haven't you? That's a whole that's a whole nother story. Maybe you'll have to email Jamie for that story.
Right.
But and then they're of course waterproof down to and I don't know, have the spec sheet from 50 feet on the new one. And obviously, I know I took mine down when I was in the Bahamas, and that's the one I used down under when I was scuba diving. And amazing shots, when you shoot, and it's got the underwater settings on there too, which really help. And then I think they're freeze proof. I don't know the down to the Fahrenheit what it is, -4. I don't know if it's 14, 16. I really need that spec sheet in front of me.
I know, right?
Freeze proof,
Yes.
Basically you'd have to be somewhere cold for it to wreck it.
So I know one of our tech reps, Ray, and I'm probably going to say his last name right, Acevedo. Am I saying that right? Have you met Ray?
Sounds right. Yeah.
Okay. I think he's on the West Coast. He shared a little video clip online. I think it was Ray that shared it. I think today or yesterday, at some sort of a camera show, and they had a big ice carving. It was like a big Olympus branded logo, huge big block of ice. And it wasn't until he said a few things about the ice block that I realized what was going on there. Actually frozen inside of the block of ice were cameras, Tough cameras.
Oh, really?
Literally frozen into a block of ice, and you can pull them out and they'll work. So it's pretty impressive. Andrew Oakey said he loves playing with his TG3 at the beach or on the big lake. Should he update to the 5? And I'm going to say yes, just because, I'm not one of those people that's always pushing people into buying something, although it might seem like it sometimes the way we talk about stuff. But the difference between the 3 and the 5 is massive.
That's a huge leap. I mean, the 2.0 raw, you're shooting raw, 4K now on the video.
And then one of the things that I'm super pumped about, and I was literally clenching my fist, the 120 frames per second in full HD. So
that's awesome.
I love the slow-mo mode in these cameras. I love just doing just the craziest stuff with it, whether I'm throwing the camera through the air at the lake or popping water balloons over my kid's head, whatever. And it's always been fun to shoot like the 120 frame per second, but it always gave you this little tiny file, which was great for like a small phone or something. But, to be able to do it in HD is just like, oh, I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, Andrew, I would say yes, it's definitely worth it. Plus, you get things like Pro Capture, which is something you're only finding currently on the EM1 Mark II.
Right.
You've got live composite. I mean, we could just go on and on why it's worth the upgrade. It is definitely going to be good. And a big change that they made, which when we had our product briefing on this, they mentioned several times, which is important because it's an issue I've run into with my previous generation Tufts, is depending on your situation, like when I was in Lake Michigan swimming last year and I was diving down deeper, like 10 feet or so, it'd be really cold. When I got up to the surface, when it was like 85 degrees outside, my lens would fog up, and it was fogging up on the inside.
That's right.
So they actually fixed that issue. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's a dual pane of glass. So you've got like an insulating barrier in there so you don't run into the fogging. So that
really does happen. It happened in the Bahamas. Anywhere that even has a lot of humidity is going to mess you up with that. Yeah. So that is those little changes on top of the other big ones.
Right.
Really, from a 3 to 5, I'd say yes. A 4 to 5, I'd almost say yes too because of the Pro Capture.
Yeah, no, Pro Capture is pretty freaking awesome.
I mean, if you don't have an EM1 Mark II and you want to try that, wow.
Yeah,
that's cool. And the live composite, I've used the live composite a lot on the 4, and it's great. Now it's a little bit different. It's not as intuitive as a regular EM1 Mark II or any of those, but boy, I tell you, it's quick and it's easy, and that's the fun thing. If you're at a fair, that's the fun thing. If you're at a fair and you just want to shoot some live composite of spinning wheels or Ferris wheels, and you don't want to set up huge tripods, boom, you're in.
Right. And that's something that I actually had somebody ask me about it earlier. Like what the difference between the live composite on the Tough versus like, a pen or an OMD or something.
Right.
And it's almost, and in my opinion, really, in all honesty, it's actually probably a little easier to use because
it's much easier,
on the OMDs and the pens, you actually have to kind of determine what your base exposure should be,
Right.
And on the Tough, it just determines that for you. I mean, it evaluates the scene and then does the appropriate shutter speed to, to make it work. So it's actually an easier way to get into it.
It's a nice introduction to live composite.
Yeah.
Tell you the truth. It's really cool that way.
Real quick, Vicky asked us when it becomes available. So June 16th is when it's going to be shipping. So that's when you can get one. But you can always pre-order now. Pre-order is not a bad thing.
I saw that too. What she said, and that was one of the things I noticed. I didn't get to the briefing, but I don't know if they talked about it. It has a lens cap.
Yes. Yeah, and I didn't even mention
the pictures.
Yeah,
and the lens doesn't move though, that I know of, right, in and out.
No, it's
but
just
I like the idea of a lens cap.
Yep, it's just another way to protect it.
Yeah.
So I guess that's about it for the Tough. I don't want to dwell on the Tough for too long because I don't have one to play with, or else I'd probably be talking a little bit more about it.
But I have a feeling we'll get one and we will be talking about it.
I have a feeling you're right about that.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's the Tough. Let's talk about Drobo. So we mentioned before that we're giving away a Drobo, and Drobo has signed on to be a sponsor of this show. So just do a quick little spiel about what a Drobo is. So a Drobo is a way to back up your stuff, and everybody's familiar with an external hard drive, right? I know people have them for their laptops and for the desktop, whatever. It's a single drive. When you start adding more drives, I'm looking at Bob talking. He's getting me distracted. Yes, I'm doing Macro in the Woods in the future here. Anyway, so backing up to a single drive is great. If that drive fails, not so great. So that's when you start looking at things like RAID arrays, which are basically, a couple of drives and one mirrors the other. Or then you can get into more complex systems, where you have a RAID array. You've got multiple hard drives set up, and they're configured in such a way so that, and not in all systems, but in the Drobo it works really well. If you have a drive that fails, you can pull the drive out and replace it. On a lot of systems, that drive needs to be the same size. It needs to be the same make and model, even to some degree, depending on your system. The Drobo makes it a no-brainer for somebody. You can put 5, I'm looking over at my Drobo now, looking at the lights. You can put 5 hard drives, various sizes, doesn't matter with the sizes, in your Drobo. The Drobo will look at all your drives, calculate how much the total storage space is, and then it will allocate a little bit of storage space for redundancy, so that what happens is if one of those drives fails, you can pull it out. You're not losing any data. You pull that drive out and replace it with another drive of equal or greater size. Doesn't even have to be the same brand, okay? Just as long as it's the same size or larger. And what it will do is it has information spanned across all the other drives to help rebuild the information that was on that drive that died. It takes some time. If you have a drive fail, it might take, 6, 7, 8 hours for it to rebuild all that info, but you don't lose anything. That's the cool thing about a Drobo.
Yeah.
And it's literally as simple as you open the box up, take the faceplate off the Drobo. It's magnetically on there, no tools. You just pop the face off and start snapping in hard drives. Just plug a drive in, plug another drive in. Once you get all your drives in, plug it into your computer, turn it on, and just install their little command center, their little application. And that's it. And you're done. It's as simple as that. And I upgraded once. That's why I have this 1 terabyte drive sitting here. I just had this one sitting in an external drive, and I pulled it out to put it in the Drobo, and I got a new 4 terabyte drive. I yanked this one out of the Drobo without turning it off, without doing anything special. I just literally ejected the drive. My Drobo goes into freak out mode saying a drive is gone. And then I just popped in the new 4 terabyte drive, let it rebuild the data that was on this one drive. It rebuilt it, and then it added the extra space that larger drive afforded me. And that was that. It's so simple, and it's so awesome. And we're giving one away. And
it's awesome.
Now, how do we give it away? Mike and I talked about this before the show, and this is how I'm going to do it. So what we're going to do is on the next show, which is actually going to be a day later than it normally would. It's going to be on Thursday, June 1st.
Right.
Okay, Thursday. Put that in your calendars, folks. Thursday, June 1st is going to be the last day for people to like our Facebook page and subscribe to us on YouTube. Okay, those are the 2 ways. Those are the 2 places we're going to start pulling names from. All right. If you're already watching this, chances are you've already done those things. And
probably are. Yep.
But we're giving it until the next show for new people to find our show and like and subscribe. And then what we're going to do, that show will be the cutoff date. When that show ends, as soon as it ends, I'm pulling up the names from YouTube, from our subscriber list there, and from our Facebook page likes. And if you've got your Facebook page, and I just found this out today, if you've got your Facebook page, let me start over. If you've got your Facebook privacy settings set up so that no one can see the pages you like, you're not going to show up on my list. So that might be something you have to look at. But at the end of the show, I'm going to take the time to go over to YouTube. I'm going to pull all of our subscriber names, the Facebook page, and pull all of our like names, and I'm putting them all in a big, nasty Excel spreadsheet. Okay. If your name's in there twice, good for you. Your odds are doubled. So if you better like and subscribe both. Right. And then Mike and I are going to do a special short live episode, probably sometime about 4 or 5 days later, something like that.
Next week. Yep.
The following week, it'll be like a little 10-minute show. We're going to go on live. I'm going to have the spreadsheet pulled up on my screen, and I'm going to have a random number generator pulled up, and we're just going to hit go. And whatever number it stops on, I'm going to go down to that row, and that person is going to win a Drobo. Simple as that. So thank you to Drobo for sponsoring the show. And I'm excited to see somebody win this Drobo, because I'll tell you what, it's totally made my backup solution nice. Oh, and it's a little bit info about this Drobo. So it holds 5 drives, like I said. Put the biggest drives you can get in there. Okay. It's also got a spot on the bottom of it for oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank here. It's basically flash storage. It's like an SSD drive. I can't remember the format, what it's called again. But anyways, it basically works as like a cache, like for faster access to your Drobo. And the interface for this Drobo is USB 3 or Thunderbolt. So if you're a Mac user and you have the Thunderbolt ports, like I'm using, this thing is freaking fast. I've actually edited video off of this. So
I was going to ask you, how is the editing?
Thank you, Bob. It's MSATA 2. Thanks. Okay. Bob has all this technical info on his head. He's dangerous.
That's why he needs a beanie.
Yes, it's why you keep all that knowledge in there, Bob. You started to ask me something, Mike.
No, the editing. What did you think? I mean, even let's just say Lightroom and not the video. Real good.
Yes. Oh gosh, yes. So and because normally what I've been doing in the past is I've been working off of some USB 3. He said no propeller, Bob. I've been working off USB 3 external hard drives, and I had 1 Thunderbolt external hard drive. And this is faster. And I don't know that it's necessarily faster than the Thunderbolt drive that I was working off of, but the USB 3 drive is way faster. And like I said, I was able to work in and Final Cut Pro, working on some video, not 4K video. It's 1080. I don't do anything with 4K at this point. And no slowdowns, no lag. Everything renders fine and fast, just like it did before. So pretty impressed with it.
Great. Yeah, it's going to be a lucky person, boy, that wins that. I can't wait to give it away. That'll be cool.
And I should have the number handy here, but I don't because it's been a busy week, I think, for both of us. So I don't remember the manufacturer's suggested retail price, the MSRP, but I think it's about between $600 and $700. So it's
at least that.
It's a good price. It's a really good price. So so yeah, that's Drobo. Like I said, thanks to Drobo. On to the next subject. Let's see. Want to share some photos?
Yeah, I think
we do that every once in a while. We take pictures. So let's do that. You want to go first?
I can. Yeah, I'll go first.
I've been talking for like 10 minutes straight.
I know, that'll give you a chance. That's what I was thinking. Give you a chance to take it easy there for a second.
Give everybody a break.
Yeah. And I'm going to have to, I'll say it while I'm doing it. Can you see the guy on the mountain there?
Yeah. Is that Frank Ruggles? No.
Yeah. So I promise I'll put the name of the drive, this beautiful drive we went on down in Tucson, Arizona, but we were in vacation last week in Phoenix, and we took a drive down to Tucson. And it was through the mountains, and stopped at a few great places, and I've got to find it myself so I know to do it next time. But just some amazing rock climbers out there, and I saw this guy from far away, and this is the 12-100, and I really just try to go out with the 12-100 and the M1 Mark II. I mean, I said, where I'm on a vacation, I'm going to use it as a vacation lens, and really cool shot. Just seeing them all alone. And actually, the guy stood there long enough. This is actually an HDR shot. So he didn't move. Nothing. It was really nice. And if you see, they've got some people up here talking to him and his lines going down. These people aren't standing on the ground. They're actually standing like in a tree right here on the bottom. I'm not too sure why they got up in the tree, but heck, that's where they are. This is along that drive. And as you can see, I just, always making that curve in the road if you can when you get down, change your perspective. But this is what the entire drive looked like. It was just beautiful, drive through the mountains. And I'll probably have somebody tell me. But then again, we went through Phoenix there, and this was the South Mountains, they're called, or the South Mountain Range. I'll probably get Alex to tell me better what that was. But I wanted to go and try to fly the drone out there too. And of course, before we even do any of that, we're getting in the car and we see this giant lizard, and it is a cool lizard, and it's pretty big. It's hard to, this rock is huge, but even cooler as the lizard starts to come over this rock, and I'm getting up close, and this thing is doing push-ups, and it sounds funny, but it's actually doing push-ups, like 4 and 5 push-ups at a time. I'm going, what is going on with this thing? So then I see it turn and look at its tail. This is his tail. It looks almost like a rattlesnake tail. Solid bright orange. And apparently to see them is somewhat rare, but in the South Mountain there, I ended up finding one right at the parking lot. And looking at it, they're called chuckwalla lizards. And they do the push-ups to tell the women that they're available and to scare the other guys off. So I thought it was that's one of the coolest lizards I've ever seen. And one moved too quick for me when we were hiking, my wife and I, back into some trails. We saw one 5 times the size of this coming out. It was about 105 degrees that day when we went out. So I don't know what he was doing out, but he scattered back quick. So, and at the top of the South Mountain here is this beautiful building, obviously. And what you don't see behind it, and I've got a lot of drone footage, I took a drone up over this, is all of Phoenix is right out the back here. You can see Phoenix from the top of the mountain. I think it's called Dobbins Peak. I gotta check that to make sure. But really cool area up there up top. And one last thing, this is not with a drone. I actually took a balloon ride So it was fun actually being in a drone somewhat and taking pictures of the other balloons as we were flying over the Sonoran Desert area. We're up at 4:45, getting ready to go on this. And this is something I'd suggest for everybody if they could do it, is put it on your bucket list to take one of these balloon rides. Our guy was a little bit more, our pilot was a little bit more, let's call him adventurous. We went up to about 6,000 feet through the clouds, absolutely through the clouds and in a break of the clouds. Wow. It was amazing to see. And so I think that if you can get up there to do that, and the landing is an experience. I think Jamie's done this before, is an experience in itself, because he's trying not to set it down on a big cactus in the desert. But he did a great job, and then everybody celebrates with champagne and wine and cheese.
Yep.
So
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh, that was definitely a lot of fun. Yeah. And you've done it, I know. I don't know if you've done it a couple times, but ballooning is fun.
But I've never gone that high, so that's really cool.
He said he's not supposed to.
Yeah.
He told us all. Now and he did get in trouble when he got back.
Not supposed to go this high, but we're supposed to have 4 bottles of champagne too, and I only have 1 left. So hey, here we go. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, there's nothing like it, is there? I mean, it's completely a weightless experience. It's so quiet and calm and serene, except for the landing.
Except for landing, and you can't believe how it feels like you're not moving at all. And he goes, "We're going 30 miles an hour right now."
Oh yeah, no, yeah, it's
you do not feel like you're moving. I mean,
yep.
And your ability to take pictures is so great.
Yes, it's smooth.
It's wow. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And I did street shooting on it because we were with 12 people.
Yeah.
On that
wow.
thing.
Okay.
So I took a lot of pictures of people going, oh, it was fun looking at their faces.
Nice. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've only done it over an urban area, like in Jackson, Michigan. So
yeah.
And it was still an astounding experience. I went up once solo, and then once I got to take my youngest son up, so it was a cool experience.
Yeah.
I had as much fun watching him as I did going up. So.
If you get a chance, I would say do it.
Oh yeah.
Don't turn back.
Definitely. So I don't have any balloon photos.
Okay.
So instead, so here we go. So I do this everywhere I go, and this is one of those things that that I think I'm gonna start recommending people do. And I don't necessarily mean recommend taking a business card of your own and holding it out, but find a way to connect yourself to a destination when you travel. Maybe it's not a big deal for everybody, but for me, growing up, I didn't travel much. I mean, traveling for me was going up to my grandparents' cabin, like an hour and a half, 2 hours away. That was like the big travel experiences for me as a kid. So, as an adult, working with Olympus and now with my day job, traveling is happening more and more every year. 4 or 5 times a year, I get to jump on a plane and go somewhere. So, it's a big deal for me, and I always want to be able to remember what I'm doing. And a fun way of doing it that I found for me is I pull out one of my Olympus Trailblazer cards and I kind of hold it up in some place that allows me to show that I'm not at home anymore. So that's what I did here. And this is in Philadelphia. This is City Hall in Philadelphia, right outside the Ritz-Carlton. And I took with me an easy and portable kit, which was the Olympus Pen F. And that's what I had in my hand, So I had the Pen F and I had the 17 millimeter f1.8 and just stuck my arm out there and had it in a custom mono profile that I created in the Pen F and just shot that little keepsake from my trip. So, again, I don't necessarily say everybody needs to hold their business card out, but if you've got, a favorite watch that you wear when you travel or something, if you've got a little thing that always goes with you wherever you go, just throw it in a scene somehow. You don't have to hold it out, maybe rest it on a statue somewhere, but just kind of make your adventures and your travels a little more memorable by doing something like this. Or at least it's something I've been doing. So again, this was
I got to pipe in flat Stanley. Eh?
What's flat Stanley? Oh yeah. Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Except not as childlike and
right.
But I think I did flat Stanley on my drone for my kids. So So yeah, that's kind of what this was. This was day one in Philly for a work trip. I was in there all last week. So, and then the next shot was while we were there, you know, again, part of my day job, and we were working with a supplier from overseas who wanted to wine and dine us and took us out to this incredible cigar bar in Philly, Ashton Cigar Bar. And there's just something great about like and I'm not a smoker, but there's something great about a big fat cigar and an expensive glass of some sort of alcohol, and just the whole scene lent itself to shooting in black and white. So I had to take a shot of this gentleman, backlit, you know, from this big window that overlooks, you know, the street that the Ashton Cigar Bar is on there. And I don't know, I had a lot of fun shooting everybody that was in our group, all these really moody madmen looking, you know, 50s noir. I don't know what you want to call it, but again, Pen F, 17 millimeter f1.8, and a custom mono profile. I love that setup. And I had so little free time when we were there, but the little bit of free time that I did eke out, I basically only explored around the Ritz where we were staying, and City Hall is right there. So I decided to walk around City Hall and come around the corner and saw this young couple. And I don't know if it was engagement, prom, what it was. I couldn't tell. I didn't get real close to them because they had a photographer that was shooting them. And I had the Pen F, and this is a custom color profile that I kind of whipped up. And I had the 25 millimeter f1.2 on here. And the reason I had that on for this, I swapped out from the 12 millimeter because I've been shooting the building. I threw the 25 on. It was the longest lens I had with me at the time to shoot these two. And also because I could shoot it at f1.2 and use the electronic shutter in the middle of the day, I could get a fast enough shutter speed to shoot wide open without overexposing. And I don't have the photo to share here today, but one of the shots that I did is actually up close to the front row of the little water splashing up there. And I have the focus on that, and then they're blurred out in the background. But because I moved up about 10 feet or so, you know, they stand out a little bit better in the frame, but you know, the focus again being on the water up front and such a shallow depth of field with that lens, it just made for kind of a really cool look. And that's basically one of the last shots I took when I was in Philadelphia. And I flew home on Friday, got home, we flew into Metro. I drove home from Metro, and, you know, it's like a 2.5 hour drive home from Metro, literally switched vehicles, jumped into my truck and drove up to my camper up north because camping season's on, and also birding season is on. So I know Mike spent some time birding the other weekend, and he said, I think there was an expletive in there, little birds. Like he experienced what it's like to try to chase the little birds around and shoot the other weekend. And it's something that I just love doing. For the longest time, I just wanted to shoot big eagles and osprey and hawks, and then realized they're not quite as hard to shoot as these guys. So this is what I did a fair amount of last weekend up at the camper. This is a yellow warbler, and this bird is tiny. We're talking about the size of a computer mouse. And this is straight out of the camera. There's no cropping or anything. So this is with the EM1 Mark II, the Olympus 300 millimeter f4 Pro, and the MC14 1.4 teleconverter, which puts me out to, what is that, Mike? Like 420 millimeters or 840 millimeters on full frame. And the settings on this, the ISO, I think, is at 400, and my shutter speed was at like 1/800th of a second. So again, no alterations, just straight out of camera. Little tiny bird. Same setup for this next one. It's a male Baltimore Oriole. And I know that the crispness and sharpness probably doesn't even come close to what they look like on my screen sharing it over a Hangout. But again, same exact setup. No, Bob, I did not use the electronic shutter. I didn't need to. There's no reason. I'm far enough away that the mechanical shutter on the M1 Mark II is quiet enough. It didn't even register with the birds. And I didn't need a faster shutter speed. I actually had to raise my ISO up, to get the shutter speed I was getting, believe it or not. So yeah, again, male Baltimore Oriole, same exact setup, no cropping or anything. I was actually just kind of close to this guy. He landed almost above me, so it was kind of nice. And the last shot was last night. I was on Facebook, and my buddy Mark Miller said, I'm going to head out and shoot the sunset. And I thought, man, I haven't done that. And a day. So I jumped in the car and decided to go for a ride. And I got out into the countryside and realized, man, I grabbed the wrong bag. So I grabbed a bag that just had the EM1 Mark II and 12-100 on it, and I didn't have any other lenses with me. But you know what? I think it worked out just totally fine. But this is not a straight out of the camera shot. This is a 3-shot bracketed HDR photo. So this is just 3 shots with an exposure variation of plus or minus 3 EV. And then it's just blended in Lightroom using Lightroom's built-in merge to HDR function. So pretty easy to edit this way. And yeah, it was nice to just take a ride out in the countryside and shoot the sunset. So that's all I got to share for this week is that stuff.
Those are good. Those birds, that's you definitely, I can't even explain how small those birds are. I know when I left there, I felt like shooting people was going to be a lot easier. And I know why I like doing street shooting.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's a challenge. And I think it was more, I just wrote a note to Bob. We were talking about that 840 millimeter, because I use the same lens in the teleconverter going up against those guys. Those lenses those guys had, I was trying to explain to my wife. I mean, I know some of them were $15,000 to $18,000, the Nikon and Canon lenses they had, and I'm going out at the same distance on mine.
Oh yeah, yeah, without a doubt.
And they're just looking, they're going, "What is that guy doing?"
Yeah, we're like how can you even see the birds through that little lens?
Yeah, exactly.
Show them the display on the back.
Huge equipment.
Oh, I know.
You know, they've got spotters. So I was at Maggie Marsh, which if you're a birding person, yeah, there's 2 weeks that I don't know if 100,000 people come into this area. It's just crazy in Northwest Ohio. And it was an amazing scene to see. I think I was just more excited about the scene,
right? Yeah,
than I was the birds. I hate to say it. I know I'll probably, birding people will probably be mad at me, but just to watch all these people.
Oh no, it's a pretty intense, hardcore group
very
of people.
Serious.
Oh yeah, without it, there are people that travel from all over the country just for a day or two in that spot. It's
funny you say that. I took I took pictures of license plates.
Yeah,
just to make it just to talk about the experience that day.
Oh yeah, it's like it's the Bosque del Apache of the Midwest, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And I got to say one last thing. I can't believe it. We're walking out of Maggie Marsh, and when you walk in Maggie Marsh, they got this nice little archway that says Maggie Marsh. A guy stops me and says, "Hey, I'll take a picture of you and your wife." I said, "All right." He goes, "But would you take one of me first?" I said, "Sure." So I said, "Go stand on the arch." Sure enough, the only guy that I saw, an OMD EM1 Mark II.
Shut up. That's awesome.
And I didn't have Olympus stuff on that morning at that point.
No kidding.
I said, "Hey, you got a good camera here."
Nice. Did you talk to him at all?
Yeah, I talked to him for a bit. Yeah, that's I told him about the show. Maybe he's listening tonight. Who knows?
Very cool.
But Very cool. That was cool. So
good deal. Well, I guess that's it. Just like we said earlier, though, the next episode is going to not be on a Wednesday. It's going to be a day later than normal. It's going to be on June 1st at the normal time, 8 p.m. And that'll be the last opportunity you get to like or subscribe to get that Drobo. And again, thank you to Drobo for sponsoring the show. Killer stuff.
And one last shout out is too. We need to say, since we're going to be in June for our next show out of Chicago. I almost forgot.
Holy smokes! Yes,
out of Chicago is coming. You can still register.
Yes,
you can use Baining 100, or is yours McDonald 100?
Yep. Yeah,
I need to get $100 off.
Yeah, that's huge. $100 savings. It's not like the conference is that expensive to begin with. So when you're knocking basically a quarter of the price off of it. So
I can guarantee you're going to have fun if you come out to it.
Yeah, without a doubt. So yeah, don't forget outofchicago.com. If you're going to register, which I think you should do because the conference will be here before you know it, use the promo code Baining100 or MacDonald100 and knock $100 off it and come hang out and shoot with us. It'll be fun.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, man. Good luck down there in Texas. You need to come home soon someday.
I know.
You've been on the road a lot lately. So I guess everybody, we'll see you guys on the next episode.
See you, everybody.